Broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Good afternoon, everybody. Sorry I'm seconds late, but I'd like to welcome everybody to the April 2nd meeting of the North Carolina Local Government Commission. I call the meeting to order, and Cindy will call the roll.
So, thank you. This is Cindy Aiken. Good afternoon, everyone. Let's see. We have quite a few in attendance. Auditor Holmes. Present. Thank you. In the room. Secretary Marshall. Here. Also in the room. Today, in the place of Secretary Penny is Mr. McKinley Wooten. Sir,
I'm here.
Thank you very much. He's virtual. Yep. Mr. Burns. Here. Present in person. Mr. Butler.
Here.
Also in person, Ms. Harvey.
Here.
Thank you. On the virtual network, Ms. Councilwoman Hoffman.
Here.
Thank you. Also virtual, Mr. Philbeck.
Here.
Coming to us live virtually, and Treasurer Falwell.
Here.
Person. And the staff today in attendance. Debbie Tomasco, Interim Secretary. Louis Andrews, Director of our State Debt. Jennifer Wimmer, Director of Debt Management. Cindy Aiken, Assistant General Counsel. Kendra is virtual, I believe, listening in. Director of Fiscal. Just a quick housekeeping item, reminders that the meeting proceedings are being recorded, will be made available to the public according to our department's recording of public meetings policy. If everyone will please remember to identify yourself when speaking. If you are participating virtually, please mute yourself when you are not speaking. If we have any power or audio-visual connection problems, the meeting will continue as possible, and all audio will continue to be broadcast, so please be mindful of that if you're virtual and having conversations, you're not sure, just check with us, please. The agenda was posted on the website. We have an addition which will be announced at section E, attachment E, later in the meeting. If there are any other changes, we'll announce that during the meeting. Unless there's any objection of the members, we will continue to take votes by roll call, and without objection, the motions and seconds will be considered as yes votes unless you indicate otherwise during the roll call vote. That's the end of the housekeeping announcement.
Thank you. If you'll stand and join us for our Pledge of Allegiance, and our Secretary of State will lead us in the salute to North Carolina flag. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America
and to the republic for which it stands,
one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I salute the flag of North Carolina and pledge to the Old North State love, loyalty, and faith.
Secretary Marshall was recently knighted or coronated or
None of the above.
huh?
None of the above.
We can share Council State meeting this morning.
Yes, I'm delighted to. North Carolina has had for 25 years a partnership with the Republic of Moldova. The North Carolina National Guard's military-to-military partnership with Moldova is even older. It's in its 28th year. But Governor Cooper signed a renewal for the next 5 years. I carried it to Moldova. We had 35 North Carolinians there for the week of March, whatever ended on the 20th something or other. I was on two things, and my dates, I'm not even sure what continent I'm on right now. But we had 35 people there. We carried the agreement over. We had a public partnership meeting there. We had a signing by the Minister of Foreign Affairs and the Prime Minister. And I always have a meeting with the President of the country if it's possible. After my meeting, all of a sudden I was invited to this lovely large room, and she started an official proceeding with their anthem, then our anthem, and at that point I'm seated up front and I lean over to our ambassador and I say, "What is going on?" And she calls me up and presents me with the Order of the Republic, which is the highest civilian honor that that country can give anybody. And I accepted it on behalf of the people of North Carolina. We have no money for this partnership. We have grants available and that kind of thing. But it's been people to people. It's out of the goodness of people's hearts that they've seen a need. Let me give you an example. The nursing collaborative started when a nurse in Moldova had an email address of a nurse at UNCG nursing school, and she wanted to know how to insert a certain type catheter, which was pretty much standard, but they realized that, standard here, she realized that their nursing was way behind in nursing education. And out of that grew the nursing collaboration, which now has created a bachelor's degree program and working on a master's degree program. We've done things in the educational area, humanitarian area, cultural area, agriculture. Let me give you an example. Education, we have 50 classrooms here in North Carolina that are paired with a similar number over there to help them learn English. Also, there's Russian speakers, native Russian speakers there. So our classes here in North Carolina that teach Russian have an opportunity to speak with native speakers and, you know, be able to develop their skills. It's just been a dream. I never would have thought when I was first asked to do this. I never knew where Moldova was. For anybody that does it, if you look at Ukraine as a big baseball glove, Moldova is a tiny baseball, literally almost surrounded 2/3 of the way, 3/4 of the way by Ukraine. And it's a neutral country. It's neutral in its constitution. They recently amended their constitution to say that to back up their neutrality, they have to have military force. That was a very strong statement for them to add to it. And they called out Russia as being the enemy of the country of Moldova. And so our military does training. They train them to do kind of like National Guard people do here, what to do in the case of an emergency, but also a lot of just plain leadership training, which is something the country has lacked during its Soviet years. So that's a very short version of a much longer attempt. But North Carolina State now has an official agreement with their agricultural school there. The dental school has exchanges, the pharmacy school has exchanges, just on and on and on. And it's not a one-way street. For instance, Moldova is noted for the most high-quality medicinal herbal medications. And so our pharmacy school sends folks over there for the summertime to learn plants that they're using for health purposes and trying to decide other reasonable applications for those plants. Now the School of Agriculture is involved, and they're excited about the same thing, to do research on the plants that they grow there that do have additional medical properties that can be used for, you know, treating people. So it's just an amazing project. It's been quite a lot of fun. At times it kind of was stagnant, but now that they have clearly a view to be EU focused, they have a EU accession agreement, and they have always democratically elected, but Western-leaning Democratic, young people running their country, young parliamentarians, 40 years old, you know, basically, staying with their country, because unfortunately brain drain is a problem, but they're people committed to that country. And it's a beautiful place. It grows great wine. I recommend it highly. Lots of good fruits. Sunflower that's pressed out into oil for cooking, mostly, is one of their major products. But we've been working with them for 25 years. It's really just unbelievable. So we're now in 25 to 30 going forward. So it was quite an honor, but it doesn't belong to me. It belongs to a lot of people who've pitched in and done a lot of things. Thank you for the opportunity.
Good. Well, now, congratulations. Conflict of interest statement, please, members, you've had a chance to review the agenda. Does anyone have a present, actual, or potential conflict of interest regarding the matters that are before us? Okay. Should a conflict appear during our deliberations, please be sure to let me, as the chair, know. With that, we'll entertain a motion to approve the meeting March 5th.
So moved. Jessica Holmes.
Alder Holmes, motion. Second.
Second, Nancy Hoffman.
Thank you. Motion is second being made. Any further discussion? Hearing none, clerk will call the roll.
March 5th minutes, Holmes, Hoffman, Secretary Marshall?
Aye.
Mr. Wooten?
Aye.
Mr. Burns?
Aye.
Mr. Butler?
Aye.
Ms. Harvey?
Aye.
Thank you. Mr. Philbeck?
Aye.
Treasurer Falwell?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Okay, next, just draw attention to our attachment A, which is our OPEB report in extra large font. Those of us that need that to read it. A lot of items that are on the agenda today. Obviously, the biggest ones with OPEB liabilities are Charlotte, Wake County, and the city of Raleigh. Hundreds of millions, totally billions of dollars of unfunded pension liabilities for those communities. I want to applaud the city of Charlotte. They have $150 million sitting in assets to pay off their unfunded liability. Wake County has only 17 million. City of Raleigh only has 70 million. So this is something the city of Charlotte started a long time ago after following the lead of Loris Coakley, who was the chief financial officer of the city of Winston-Salem. So applaud them for getting such a head start on that. We now will go to turn the meeting over to Jennifer and Debbie to talk about the UAL unit of Roxborough.
Good afternoon. The one city that is on the unit assistance list that is coming to us under Session Law 2022-53 is City of Roxborough. They are requesting to finance 4 police vehicles and 2 garbage trucks for a total of $949,800. I'll turn it over to Debbie to discuss the fiscal issues.
Roxborough received a number of financial performance indicators of concern based on their last audit. Most of those were associated with the sewer fund, which the town is addressing. They did have an issue with fund balance available falling below the target that we like to see. But again, the city has addressed that and is going to do some increases in their property tax rate to address that fund balance. And they are not making any appropriations from fund balance this fiscal year. So we were satisfied with their response.
Staff's recommendation.
To approve.
Is anybody joining us in person or by phone?
I'll give you a sheet, yes.
Virtually, we have the finance director Moore, city manager Lockhart, and a contracted finance director Craig. Staff is recommending this. Is there anything the city of Roxborough would like to add?
No, sir. We have nothing to add at this time.
Thank you. With that, I'll entertain a motion to accept staff's recommendation regarding its borrowing by the city of Roxborough for these first responder vehicles.
So moved, Burns.
Second, Marshall.
Motion is second being made. Any further discussion? Hearing none, the clerk will call the roll.
City of Roxborough, motion Burns, second Marshall. Auditor Holmes?
Yay.
Mr. Wooten?
Aye.
Thank you. Mr. Butler?
Aye.
Thank you. Ms. Harvey?
Aye.
Councilwoman Hoffman?
Aye.
Thank you. Mr. Philbeck?
Aye.
Treasurer Falwell?
Aye.
Thank you. That motion carried.
Thank you for that. Thank you for Roxborough.
Yes, sir. Thank you all.
Keep your good pizza place open up there.
Absolutely.
Now, turn it over to Lewis to talk about the North Carolina Turnpike Authority. Lewis?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Treasurer. North Carolina Turnpike Authority comes to LGC today seeking to refund the appropriation supported Monroe Expressway Series 2010 A bonds that were issued as federal subsidized taxable Build America bonds or BABs. The Series 2024 refunding bonds will be a traditional tax-exempt structure supported by the same appropriation. Just a quick history of the Build America Bond Program. In 2009, Congress passed the American Recovery and Reinvestment Act, and BABs were introduced to provide a vehicle for state and local governments to issue debt for capital projects during the time of a major recession, also known as a recession. BABs were structured as taxable bonds with a direct pay subsidy from the federal government to issuers of 35% of the interest owed to investors each and every year. In October 2010, the Turnpike Authority entered into a BABS financing to build a portion of the Monroe Connector Toll Road in the Charlotte area. The original par was $233.9 million, and currently $208.1 million is outstanding. The 2010 Monroe BABs are supported by a $24 million annual appropriation to the Emergency Highway Trust Fund, and pursuant to which the Turnpike Authority was to receive an interest rate subsidy equal to 35% of the total federal taxable interest paid on the Series 2010A bonds each year. These interest subsidy payments are part of the revenues pledged under the trust agreement to the holders of the NCTA's 2010 state appropriation bonds. Following the passage of the Federal Budget Control Act of 2011, all Build America bonds have been subject to sequestration since 2013. As a result of federal sequestration to date, the Turnpike Authority has received $3,023,000 less than originally promised. Any future subsidy cuts will put further pressure on the $24 million big state appropriation. Like most BABs, NCTA's 2010A BABs may be optionally redeemed under two scenarios: the make-whole optional redemption or the extraordinary optional redemption. The make-whole optional redemption uses a formula to determine the redemption price of the bonds based on the current market. But upon the occurrence of an extraordinary event, NCTA may exercise its option to redeem the bonds using the extraordinary optional redemption, which uses a more favorable formula to set the redemption price. NCTA currently would achieve debt service savings under this extraordinary optional redemption option. NCTA's trust agreement states that an extraordinary event has occurred if a material adverse change has occurred to Section 54AA or 6431 on the Internal Revenue Code, pursuant to which NCTA's 35% BABs interest subsidy payment from the U.S. Treasury is reduced or eliminated. NCTA's Bond Counsel is of the opinion that recent case law related to Build America bonds and the specific extraordinarily optional redemption provision language in NCTA's trust agreement support the determination that an extraordinary event has occurred, and NCTA has decided to move forward with seeking LGC approval for the refunding of the Series 2010A bonds under the extraordinary optional redemption option. NCTA instructed the bond trustee to distribute a conditional notice of redemption as of March 8th for the proposed redemption of the Series 2010A bonds scheduled for April 8th. NCTA's primary objective for refunding the Series 2010 bonds is to remove further federal subsidy reduction risk and secondarily to generate some annual debt service savings. To date, there have been no investor comments on the conditional notice of redemption. In terms of new bonds, we have final maturity of January 1st, 2041, 10-year call beginning on January 1st, 2034, maximum principal of $250 million. Ratings are final now of AA1 Moody's, AA plus Fitch. Pricing is scheduled for April 4th and closing on April 8th, not wasting any time. Underwriters, Senior Manager of BofA Securities, JP Morgan, TD Securities, and Wells are co-managers. Financial Advisor, PFM Advisors, Bond Counsel, McGuire Woods, Underwriters Counsel, Hunton Andrews Kurth, Turnpike Counsel, Alan McGinnis of the Attorney General's Office, Trustee, Computer Share Trust Company. The LGC approvals are not to exceed $250 million state appropriation revenue refunding bonds, not to exceed 4.5% true interest cost, and positive cash flow savings in every year. And I would like to add that The authority and councils have been very proactive and transparent in keeping us informed and in providing all requested information promptly for this unique refunding proposal. State debt section agrees with the objectives set forth in this refunding approval request and recommends approval. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. We have a bunch of folks from the Transit Turnpike Authority joining us, CFO David Roy and Jacob, Bond and Disclosure Councils from McGuire Woods joining us, and then FA and two FAs are joining us by phone. So they're here to answer any questions you might have regarding what Lewis has just described. I've been briefed on this several times over the last few months, and transactions like this, is safe to say, has made national news recently, even to the extent that there were some court opinions that have come out favorably, if I'm saying it right, toward us approving what we're being asked to approve today. Is that accurate?
Yes, sir. This
Speak
is
up.
Mary Nash Rusher. I'm bond counsel. The question on the table with these deals is, has in fact an extraordinary event occurred that allows this more favorable financing redemption price? And the question that went to the courts had to do with Build America bonds, where some issuers of Build America bonds were claiming that the federal government owed them the full 35%. It should not have been subject to sequestration. The Federal Court of Claims found that the changes caused by the sequestration law, although those changes weren't specifically, just stand up, thank you, weren't specifically to the statute that allows the subsidy, that those changes were in effect a change to 54AA, which was the section that created the subsidy. And therefore, since Congress has the right to change the law, that change in the law meant that those issuers did not get the full 35%. They weren't speaking about this redemption process, but they were speaking about this kind of bond and said for this kind of bond, that is in effect a change in law. That did go to the Court of Appeals, which affirmed. It did go to the U.S. Supreme Court, which denied cert. So we feel quite confident that the change that happened was, in fact, a change in law that triggers an extraordinary redemption. There are investors out in the world who are stomping their feet about these redemptions happening in other circumstances. I think we have a list of 6 or 7 that are underway, 4 of which have already closed. But to date, no one has complained about this one, and no one has done more than to stomp their feet and say you shouldn't do this as an extraordinary redemption, you should do this as a make-whole redemption.
Thank you. Thank you for that explanation. I just feel like that since this one has not been, nobody's challenged this one, and since this is in the proceedings in the court system, if you read about this, the Wall Street Journal and other places, I want everybody to go in, as I am, fully comfortable with voting for this.
My only question is related to, is there any provision in the bond documents that a decision to execute or do this under the emergency
Extraordinary.
is there a time limit after the occurrence of that action or that event?
No, there's not. The word is upon. Once that's happened, then at any time thereafter, you can do the redemption. That is one of the things that has been raised. Most of the complaint about this process is a $1 billion issue in California, which closed today, of the regents of the University of California system. And their complaint was, well, if this was a material adverse event, why didn't you do this 10 years ago when it happened? Well, the answer to that is, I think, a combination of the clarity that we've now gotten from the the Federal Claims Court case, but added to that, like any optional redemption that any issuer ever does, you don't do it until it's in the money, until it makes economic sense to do the redemption that you want to do. And market conditions right now, the difference between the Treasury rate and the municipal bond rates puts the authority in a position where it can do this redemption, get rid of the sequestration risk, and at the same time achieve savings in every year and get sort of out from under the Build America bonds into a more traditional setting. And so it's a question of market conditions, which right now are right, which is why Kentucky and LA and state of Washington and state of Maryland and the Board of Regents are all in the market doing this.
May I follow up? As I understand, in none of the other places where people are stomping their feet, have there been any injunctions sought or lawsuits filed? Or
no, sir. No lawsuits have been filed. In Regents, a lawsuit has been threatened. Honestly, we would not expect an injunction because they have the right to be redeemed any time. We would expect if they filed a lawsuit would be for the difference in what the make-whole premium would be and the extraordinary
they can
premium.
recover financially, so there's no...
That's right. There's no reason to enjoin.
Thank you.
All right. Yes.
I have one additional question if no one else in the room.
Yes.
This is Ms. Harvey. I just had a question for the McGuire Woods for Bond Counsel. Have you issued a formal legal opinion on extraordinary event?
We have counseled the authority that we believe that the extraordinary event has occurred. A normal bond counsel opinion really doesn't address that issue. We haven't been asked to address that issue in our bond counsel opinion.
Okay.
But we have provided the advice and counsel that we think it has occurred.
Okay.
All right. Thank you, Ms. Harvey. With that, Mr.
I have a question.
Yes.
Under rating, I'm reading here, the long-term rating of the Series 2024 refunding bonds are expected to be at least an investment grade triple B minus. Is that what these bonds, then it goes under it, the indicative rate? Can somebody explain that to me?
I'm sorry, I didn't hear part of the question.
He never made a D in anything, so he kind of got, it was hard to get that out. So I said you never made a D. You never made a D in anything in school. So he said wanted to know why the rating is a triple B.
It's a
Triple B as in boy.
It's a AA plus is the rating for the
But
appropriation.
it says here triple B.
Triple B. Excuse me.
Total revenue supported debt is a triple. Appropriation credit is a AA plus.
The statement is the long-term ratings of the Series 2024 refunding bonds are expected to be at least investment grade triple B. Is that what you're referring to?
Yeah,
That's the minimum investment grade.
That's your minimum.
That's
yes.
correct.
But
They have been rated AA plus and AA1 Moody's.
Excellent. And I have one other question.
Yes.
At the end of the day, will the tolls be reduced as a result of this?
This refunding doesn't directly tie to toll rate setting. Obviously, it is refunding for savings, so that will provide greater flexibility in the future. Toll revenues on any project in the state of North Carolina have to remain on that project or a contiguous toll facility. So it's not like these dollars could go to be used for some other purpose outside the facility in the long run.
Thank you, Mr. Roy.
Thanks, sir. Any further questions? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion to approve.
So moved. Nancy Hoffman.
Thank you. Motion second.
Second.
Motion second being made. Any further discussion? Before we go to the vote, Lewis, would you like to recognize the folks who just come up on the table today on your staff, please?
Yes, Frank Bowen and Carolyn Hayden back there.
Stand up.
And yes, they did a lot of hard work on this.
Tony kept him straight.
Yes, Tony, yes, or Tony.
Tony,
Keeps everybody straight.
thank you all very much. We've had many meetings about this because it's not my subject matter expertise, but I knew there were some things going on in other parts of the country that you'd be willing to read about. And I think that once this is approved, which I expect it to be in just a few minutes, that this will be ticking tide in a pretty short period of time, matter of days, to get all this sewed up. So, motion second being made. Any further discussion? Hearing none, the clerk will call the roll.
Okay, for the North Carolina Turnpike Authority matter, motion Hoffman, second Burns. Auditor Holmes. Aye. Thank you. Secretary Marshall.
Aye.
Mr. Wooten.
Aye.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Butler.
Aye.
Ms. Harvey.
Aye.
Thank you. Been informed Mr. Philbeck had to step away, at least momentarily, so he's absent. Treasurer Falwell.
Aye.
Thank you. That motion carries.
Thank you. Congratulations. Now I've already turned it over to Lewis. So before we go to the consent agenda, I believe possibly Lewis's last LGC meeting.
It is.
And Lewis has announced his retirement after how many years?
I've been here 22 years.
Yeah. And, but we so appreciate everything that he has done for us, especially over the last 8 years, and making the debt affordability study jump up on the table, which involves several different members of the Council of State and different parts of state government. And Lewis is sort of the person that glues all that together for us, and as well as his staff. So appreciate your service and your expertise, and he'll be around for a few more weeks, but we intend to siphon off as much of that talent as we can. So, Lewis, would you like to say a few words?
Thank you, Treasurer. Well, I would like to say it's just been an honor and a privilege to serve in important capacity as the state debt director. I'm going to miss the folks at the Department of State Treasury.
And the parties.
That too.
Aren't there some good parts?
Yeah, young people want to go to work for state government, go to work at LGC. That's where all the good food is. But I know I'm joined with Chief of Staff Ted Brand and congratulating you. And in some respects, when we've been retiring so much of the state debt, he's been a little bit like the Maytag repair person. You know, his job is obviously volatile when you're living beyond your means and not balancing your budget. So thank you for the part that you've played in bringing me the advice that I needed to retire debt when necessary, refund debt when necessary, and all those things. So Lewis, thank you for your service, and thank your spouse also. Thank you for it. With that, we'll turn the meeting over to Jennifer.
Okay, the consent agenda runs from Carolina East Health System all the way to the miscellaneous action items for Concord and Raleigh. I do want to make one minor update. The co-manager for the Charlotte COPS and COPS refunding transaction was listed as JP Morgan Chase Bank. It's actually JP Morgan Securities. D3. So JP Morgan, just clarifying which entity. The only other item that I would like to speak on briefly is Carolina East Health System's line of credit. Normally, this is a rare occurrence. However, because it is a hospital authority under General Statute 131E26, they have the authority to acquire this line of credit. As the write-up had mentioned, this line of credit was only necessary to make sure that the cash flows continue because there was a security breach of their payer and reimbursement group, but it was not them. So it was a third-party technology company. So they've been working on this. The third party has been working on this. Everything had shut down to save any secure information, and they are just asking for this. But other than that, if there's any other questions about this transaction or anything on the consent agenda, I would be happy to take them.
Before we go to questions, just want to recognize that I believe in person, Wake County is on the consent agenda. Raise your hand, Wake. So, thank you. And I believe some folks are here joining us virtually from Carolina East Health System. Tammy, Dave, and Holly, are you with us?
Yes, sir.
Okay. For those of you, this is one of the most underreported stories in the United States right now, in my opinion. We have major hospitals and healthcare systems that are not being paid. No other way of saying it. And that's why it's necessitating Carolina East coming before us. I've been told that they have liquidated a majority of part of their portfolio, their investment portfolio, before they made the decision to come to us, because they've been providing services they're not getting paid for. And, the Hospital Association is no fan of mine, but I think that this story needs to be reported more widely regarding what's happening, because it's not just happening to this hospital, it's happening to lots of hospitals across the state and across the country. And it's my understanding, knowing about the topic, is that if somebody's holding this money, if you've gone to this hospital and gotten services, there's been expense, somebody's holding the money. And so we continue to explore and see what opportunities we may have to help some of these folks get the money that's due them. Because if somebody's holding any money in this environment, they're earning 5% on it. So insurance companies and the like, and as I said earlier, I'm glad that we're able to facilitate this transaction. I'm sorry that you're here, because if this breach and this hack had not taken place, you'd be getting paid, and you wouldn't have to be liquidating your portfolio or coming to us for borrowings. So, does anybody from Carolina East, do you have any short response to that, or does that pretty much sum it up?
You did a great job, sir.
Okay. Is there any look-see about when you're going to get your money?
Well, so we have it. On Thursday of last week, we were able to send 16,000 claims through. So that's a positive.
Representing how much money?
Oof. It's probably upwards, probably 10 million plus. I mean, I can't put a dollar value on it, but it's a whole month's worth of claims that we've been holding.
And what month is that?
Since we disconnected from Change Healthcare February 22nd. So February 22nd to, what's that, March 29th, March 28th. So over a month.
All right, so did Change Healthcare still owe you some money from when, before the divorce?
They will not pay us. So it is basically us sending all of our claims to the payers. So their system is what we process all of our claims through in order to send it to the various payers. So we have been able to receive temporary funding from Optum, which is a part of Change Healthcare. So I think they realized the turmoil that they put a lot of healthcare facilities in. They offered temporary funding in which we've been able to receive $6 million from them, interest-free. So, but we will have to pay that back once we start receiving money from our claims being processed. But you figure with a lot of healthcare facilities, hospitals not being able to file claims and everybody filing claims all at the same time, there's going to be a backlog with the payers in processing as well.
and it's a little bit of a leap, but I guess you would say that since we're probably your biggest customer through the treasurer's office, through the state health plan, that we owe you money also.
Probably.
Okay. All right, I just wanted the board to understand what's going on, and this is such unusual. Mr. Burns.
This is for the folks online. Just curiosity, if you're going to incur up to 40, you could, if we pass this, you will be able to incur an amount not to exceed 45 million, and you've liquidated 20 million in investments. Are there any steps being taken to collect from Change Healthcare for the costs incurred by that, losses you've incurred? Have they committed to reimburse for those things, or is that still a matter of dispute?
I think that's still a matter of dispute. I am most certain that there will probably be some type of lawsuit collectively from all. So, but they have been very silent on what they will do. So we do have cyber liability insurance that we have. We contacted our insurer about that, but there has not been any discussion on Change Healthcare side about reimbursing facilities for all the expenses that we're incurring due to this.
Okay, thank you.
Yes.
And is it true, this is the treasurer, it's Change Healthcare, Optum, United Healthcare?
They are part of the United Health Group, which is part of that United Healthcare umbrella.
All right.
Trey,
Yes.
how does this relate to the East Carolina Medical School?
Zero. I think zero.
Zero.
No relation between this and ECU physicians or ECU Health, correct?
That's correct.
Yeah. It just happens to sound similar.
Where is
Yes,
this?
we're in Newbern.
Newbern. And this is billions of dollars across the country. Billions and billions. Probably billions in this state, actually. So, yes, ma'am.
All from one incident.
All right. With that, we have our consent agenda. Staff recommending approval.
Yes.
All right. Do I hear a motion?
I so move.
A second.
Second.
Motion is second being made. Any further discussion? Hope Wake County can get some more in their OPEB liability trust fund before you come back next time. Between Wake and City of Raleigh, it's $1 billion. Anyway, motion is second being made. No further discussion. Clerk will call the roll.
All right, we're handling the consent agenda. If you're following along at home, attachment D as in Delta, starting with Carolina East Health System, through the miscellaneous actions that are Concord and Raleigh. We have a motion Butler, second Marshall. Auditor Holmes. Aye. Thank you. Mr. Wooten?
Aye.
Mr. Burns?
Aye.
Ms. Harvey?
Aye.
Councilwoman Hoffman?
Aye.
And Mr. Philbeck did not return this month, okay? Absent. And Treasurer Falwell.
Aye.
Thank you. That motion
Probably
carries.
convenient for him since he lives in Cleveland County. Probably, it's fine. He might have okay. We're now on to attachment D. Thank you all. Sorry. Attachment D, turn it over to Jennifer.
We have two miscellaneous non-action items. Both of these items were already approved by the LGC. What is happening on both of these transactions, their conduit revenue, low-income housing unit documents were originally based on LIBOR. So it converted to a SOFR-based interest rate, so the documents are changing. However, the not to exceed rate, the not to exceed interest rate, the amount, and the maturity are not changing. It is only changing LIBOR to SOFR references and documents.
And does anybody object to us voting on all these together?
There's no vote.
No vote.
No, actually.
The next one.
Sorry. Thank you, Jennifer. Now to Debbie for attachment B.
Thank you, Treasurer. Your packet of unit updates includes the usual updates for each of the units under LGC financial control. That's Eureka, Cliffside Sanitary District, Kingstown, and Spring Lake. There are no action items for Eureka, so happy to take questions on the update if there are any. For Cliffside Sanitary District, we've presented 2 items for you for your consideration and vote. The first is a resolution to engage an auditor. At the last LGC meeting, the LGC, in their 159-181 authority, waived the audits for Cliffside Sanitary District for a number of years. And this month, we're coming back to you to vote on this in your role as the governing board for Cliffside Sanitary District. To engage an auditor. We have an audit firm identified that we'd like to contract to perform the 2023 audit. We also have a resolution for you for Cliffside Sanitary District accepting funding, DEQ funding, to address their system issues out in Cliffside, the sanitary districts. So those 2 items will need a vote. For the Kingstown, we have also 2 items there. The first is a budget amendment, and the second is a resolution ratifying an agreement. Both address some funding for some initiatives in Kingstown that the town is interested in undertaking for the Healthy Cleveland program. Finally, for Spring Lake, we have 5 budget amendments and 1 resolution, counting what was emailed to you late this morning. The resolution is to approve some pay changes for police. Under Spring Lake's budget ordinance that was adopted by the LGC last year, any pay increases exceeding 5% require governing board approval. So the town has requested and is looking to increase their police pay. So resolution, those amounts exceed that 5%, so LGC approval is required. And they're also looking to modify fire pay, and that's just one of those, that's being taken care of by the budget amendment that was emailed to you late this morning. The other 4 budget amendments that were provided in the original packet address revenue into a number of their funds and making appropriations for some professional services in those funds to support payroll and audit and budget. And so that's a total with and Mr. Treasurer, I'm not sure if you want all units together, but that would be a total of then two resolutions for Cliffside, a budget amendment and a resolution for Kingstown, and then a resolution and 5 budget amendments for Spring Lake. I'm happy.
Yes, ma'am.
A question on this land, not last item, but the banner program, those are flags that you put on poles. And,
Yes.
okay.
I'm deeply concerned about the Spring Lake situation, so without objection, I'd like to cluster Eureka, Cliffside, and Kingstown together for a vote, and Spring Lake for a separate vote. Do I hear any objection?
Okay, I just going to get some needed a motion.
Yeah. Motion, Secretary.
I'll move that you do those, hold out Spring Lake.
All right, thank you. Motion, second.
Second.
Any further discussion? Hearing none, clerk will call the roll.
All right, voting on the 2 resolutions for Cliffside Sanitary, budget amendment, and the ratification of an MOA for Kingstown at this time. That was,
I think we have a motion
to split it. Oh, I'm sorry, we're
Split.
moving, split it, thank you.
You're welcome.
I was zoned out. To vote to split. Marshall Burns. Okay, that would be,
Spring Lake from the rest of them.
yep, Spring Lake's going to be separate. Auditor Holmes?
Aye.
Thank you. Mr. Wooten?
Aye.
Okay. Mr. Butler?
Aye.
Ms. Harvey?
Aye.
Councilwoman Hoffman?
Okay.
Mr. Phillips absent. Okay, treasurers, obviously you want to do it.
Okay,
All right. All right, so we're split. Motion.
So I hear a motion to take staff's recommendation regarding the resolution amendments on Spring Lake.
Spring Lake or the others? Sorry.
Okay, we got two things. Treasurer and I were thinking one thing and y'all were thinking something else. So we just voted to split the.
Right, and now we need to have a vote on the three.
Right.
On the Eureka.
Oh, I didn't know I needed to vote to split it. So without objection.
We've never done that before, but it's okay. It's official.
Motion to approve the three.
There you go. Well, that's 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 items. 2 Cliffside, 2 Kingstown.
So moved.
I'll second that.
Okay, thank you.
Further discussion, hearing none, clerk call the roll.
All right, now we're voting on the actual documents. 2 for Cliffside, 2 for Kingstown. Marshall Burns. Auditor Holmes.
Aye.
Thank you. Mr. Wooten.
Aye.
Thank you. Mr. Butler.
Aye.
Ms. Harvey.
Aye.
Councilwoman Hoffman. Said aye. Hello. Councilman Hoffman, I didn't hear you.
Aye.
Thank you, sorry. Mr. Philbeck's absent, Treasurer Polley.
Aye.
Okay, thank you. Sorry for the confusion. No, that's okay. No problem.
Motion for Spring Lake.
If you're trying to help, right?
Let's get on the table and I hear a motion to take staff's recommendation on Spring Lake.
Mr. Treasurer, I have a question.
Okay. You can ask now or later.
I'm not sure if I'm the only one, but I believe my office received this additional information earlier today. Correct. Correct. Is there any reason that we received it today?
We're trying to make sure we had everything correct and presented to you for the meeting, yes.
I received it today.
Hold on, what was the information that came to this? Oh, okay.
I think it had a Exhibit E or Attachment E.
Okay, is it, you want me to just list it? Is it, all right, do all members have, there should be the original 4 budget ordinances, and then this morning was number 24-16 at the top, and then the 2-page resolution to approve
Compensation.
the amendments to the position classification plan. So those last 2, 24-16 ordinance, budget ordinance amendment, and the resolution to approve amendments to the position class. Those were the 2 that came this morning. So everybody have them? And yes, if you have questions on them, please don't hesitate to ask.
Personally, I would like a bit more information regarding this particular issue and considering, I don't know about others, but I have not had an opportunity to review this particular document thoroughly. But I do have it before me, but some background or context would be helpful.
And we also have Mayor Anthony on the line with us. There's questions for the board, but the board had voted or had voted to take this action, these pay actions at a meeting, and as the governing board
The Board of Aldermen.
sorry, I apologize, guys. The Board of Aldermen for Spring Lake had initiated this action, wanted to make these pay changes. And so as the governing board for financial matters, the LGC has to make the vote on these. So, and again, Mayor Anthony's on the line to answer any specific questions, but as this is a financial matter, and because specifically in the town's budget ordinance, any pay raises that exceed 5% have to be voted on by the governing board, and this case, the LGC, under financial control, we're bringing before the LGC for their consideration and vote. So
is it typical that we receive information like this on the day of the meeting?
not typically, no. We try to get things out the week before. We just wanted to clarify. We've worked with the town to clarify the intent based on the discussions they had and the motions they made in their meetings. We wanted to make sure that the information we presented to you accurately reflected what they were trying to achieve in the town. So we've been working on that to make sure, and we've talked to them to let them know that, and that's why, and we've let them know as well that it was late because we didn't want to bring something to you that conflicted with the town's intent. That would just create too many problems. So we wanted to be clear. So yes, no, we always try to get the materials out the week before, as we typically do. We felt it was important to make this right, and therefore a little bit late, but being correct for us was more important. So
thank you.
I would add to that there's been a tremendous amount of drama regarding relationship with Spring Lake and public board meetings and things that were said or left unsaid. So our staff has done, I mean, I know what they're physically doing. I know what they're mentally doing. I know what they're doing with their heart. And it's just I don't know quite, I don't want to put the wrong words together to describe what's going on with LGC and Spring Lake. It's just that has been, maybe will continue to be a breakdown in communications between some of our staff and Spring Lake elected officials as well as the Spring Lake staff. Now you have a new manager that I presume hired. So Spring Lake is trying to save Spring Lake from drowning has been a very tiring thing for us. And sad to say that, but I think that's accurate. And I said earlier, I see it in their faces, I hear it in their voices, and I see it in their eyes, our staff and all they've tried to do to keep Spring Lake from drowning. So, we are where we are. Yes.
I believe you mentioned that the mayor of Spring Lake is on the line or present. Just want to make sure we gave him or her the opportunity to speak or share whatever you'd like with the LGC.
Mayor Anthony.
Mayor Anthony, would you like to say something?
Is she unmuted?
Hold on. And forgive the novice for not understanding that backstory.
Mayor Anthony, can you hear us?
Hello? I am here. I can't,
We can hear you now.
okay. Well, good afternoon, everyone. Again, thank you for allowing me the opportunity to speak. And I do want to commend the LGC staff for working diligently with the town of Spring Lake to make sure that we are taking care of our public safety folks. They have been working very, very hard with being understaffed as well as underpaid. So this is a huge win for the town with being able to provide this additional pay for our police and fire departments. It was heavily discussed with their contracted finance staff, Ms. Deb Rimack and Sylvia and their team, ensuring that we were in a place of financial stability and able to sustain the 20% pay raise for police, and to also not charge our fire department for sleep time. I am unsure about the drama that Treasurer Falwell is speaking of, but I mean, as with any group of people who are going to work together, there's going to be times where there's a bit of tension, but I wouldn't go as far as calling it drama. We've worked together for the past 2 years with some bumps in the road, but I do believe it's been very cohesive. But the constant public slamming of Spring Lake drowning and to say that we're so hard to work with, Treasurer Falwell, I think it's time to stop that narrative because we've been working very, very hard, staff and elected alike, to, as you said, keep Spring Lake from drowning. And I think the town has worked very hard at doing a very good job of making us, turning this town around in a short time that we've been in office. I'd like to commend our staff. I'd like to commend our elected officials. I'd like to commend our contracted staff, and I would like to commend the staff of the LGC for continuing to work with Spring Lake to get us back on the right track. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor, for sharing your thoughts. And again, forgive the novice for not being aware of the relationship, but I do want to commend the Treasurer's Office as well as Spring Lake elected officials and staff for getting to this point. And I look forward to supporting this salary increase with my positive vote. And I think this is one of the most critical areas in terms of ensuring that our officers and public safety officials are paid fairly for the work that they do, and in showing my appreciation and gratitude for the work that they do. I look forward to voting in favor of this resolution.
Thank you so much.
You have something?
No.
Okay. And Mayor, just, oh, yes, ma'am.
Secretary of State
Secretary.
does.
Well, I have been here for some of this background. First off, what is the sleep, what do we call it here?
The
Eliminating sleep time deduction. What is that?
Sleep time is the time that our fire department, they work in shifts, and the shifts normally are, I believe, 48 hours. And during that time, they are required mandatory time for sleep. What the town has traditionally done was they deducted the cost of their salary for the sleep time. So while they were sleeping, they weren't getting paid for that time. We've since decided, like other municipalities with their fire departments, to allow our firefighters to maintain pay during that sleep time, because technically it's not really, sleep. They are still on high alert and it can be woken up at any given time. So it's not really sleep. And so we feel that it's fair to allow them to use lapsed salaries to cut sleep, or to allow them to maintain their sleep pay.
So it's coming from the headquarters budget over to the Manchester budget, which must be the fire station involved?
Yes, ma'am.
Is that the only fire station that has sleepover?
No, we have 2 fire stations, and all of our departments operate on with the same schedule, sleep pay deductions.
Okay, so, but I don't understand why you're mentioning just one fire department if it applies to all of them. The other question is, this 20% increase, how many people are we talking about? What personnel? What is the dollar value of this increase? And does the town have it?
The dollar value, give me 1 second and I can give you the exact numbers.
This is Sandra Boyle. I have those numbers from Ms. Mack's calculation if you'd like them, Mayor Anthony.
Thank you.
Sure. In this fiscal year, it's calculated to result in a salary increase or overtime. I'm sorry. It's going to result in $92,000 in this fiscal year. They have lapsed salaries in this fiscal year. It's estimated in next fiscal year to add $240,000 to their salary budget for salary and benefits for the police.
And you've got how many vacancies? Or what percentage vacancies? Or the lapsed salaries coming from other than fire department?
No, I'm sorry. I'm referring to police right now, but would you like the numbers for the fire department, what the change in calculation cost is? For the fire department to no longer deduct 14 hours from their long pay cycle for sleep time is estimated to cost for 8 pay periods, it will be $67,000 in this fiscal year. And for the next fiscal year, it's estimated to cost $108,000.
And so the only adjustment that's here is $12,000?
Yes, ma'am, because the fire headquarters department has more in lapsed salaries in the current fiscal year. So they have more available, but Manchester Fire Department has less in lapsed salaries. So in order to accommodate the estimate of overtime pay that will result from this deduction of sleep time, or from the elimination of deducting sleep time, they need, in the Manchester Fire Department, they need more money. So this amendment just moves money that's available in the fire headquarters to the Manchester.
For the years going forward, if you don't have the lapsed salaries, do you have the revenue to pay these pay increases?
I think that would be back to Mayor Anthony.
According to Ms. Mack, yes, we do have the funding to pay now and sustain it in the future. And I just wanted to clarify that we have one fire department, 2 fire stations. One is located in the Manchester district and one is located in the town of Spring Lake. So they're one department, just 2 stations.
Okay, thank you.
One question in terms of clarification. In terms of the 48-hour shifts, are they on site? Are the individuals on site?
Yes, they are on site.
So not in the comfort of their homes, they are physically at work?
They are physically at work and on call. And I mean, none of them are getting, according to our fire chief, they're not getting more than, 2 to 3 hours before a call comes in and they're up. So they're not really getting, real sleep. They're still on high alert. So they're not actually being able to relax.
My second follow-up is to my colleagues here. Do we have, that was a great question, Secretary Marshall, in terms of once the lapsed salary runs out, do they have the ability to sustain these raises? Do we have any evidence to the contrary?
Again, according to our contracted finance staff, Ms. Deborah Mack, she was able to work with our previous police chief to crunch the numbers for them and for our fire department. And she absolutely said we could sustain this going forward.
Is audit up to date?
That would be in next year's budget. After they use the left salaries.
Any other questions? Do we have a motion and a second on the table?
So moved.
I'll second that.
Motion is second on the table. Any further discussion?
Mr. Treasurer, did you have other concerns?
Yeah, I'm tempering my thoughts about what I'm going to say, but I just want to tell the mayor, I'll stop using the word drama when you stop creating it. Your police chief's been relieved of duties. We're being asked to vote for pay raises for police chiefs. We've had tremendous drama out of your general counsels the last 4 years. We know what has happened as far as the audits are still not in and all kinds of concerns. We know as the LGC members, the letters that were sent to us by council people recently about how they're fed up, which included clips of videos from your city council meetings. So I'll stop using the word drama when you stop creating it, not when you tell me to.
No problem, sir. Carry on.
Count on that.
And just again, for clarity's sake, our police chief resigned. He was not relieved.
Mr. Treasurer, does staff recommend approval of all 4 of these?
Yes.
So we have a motion second on the table, and I'll add to what was said, and I think some of us who have local government experience, mine back in Winston-Salem, we understand how complicated this sick time can be, this sleep time. I can tell you as the treasurer, we understand how complicated it can be when people go to retire, thinking they were earning one thing and they're earning something else. And so these are very delicate issues. My concern, whether anybody agrees with me or not, is about the ability of them to sustain this going forward. So with that, we have a motion and a second on the table. Any further discussion? Hearing none.
Mr. Treasurer, I did want to clarify for the record that staff does indeed recommend that we move forward with this vote.
Staff has pre-audited the amount for this fiscal year, and
There's 3 months left.
we're talking about all the resolution and the 5 budget amendments. The budget amendments,
Specifically related to Spring Lake.
right, but Spring Lake has 5 total budget amendments and the resolution. So the role of staff was to ensure that this amount was pre-audited. The resolution states that we've determined funds were available in this fiscal year to modify it. And so based on that and the wishes of the local board to implement this from a financial matter, we are recommending approval.
Okay.
But you're not speaking to next fiscal year.
Correct. The amount that staff confirmed, and that's in the resolution, was that staff has determined that there's appropriate and available funds for this fiscal year. And again, based on discussions with the town and with the mayor's comments, they're aware that this is an item that'll have to be addressed in the upcoming budget.
And they'll just have to deal with it if they don't have the money.
Only one way for people to deal with at local level is raise property taxes.
As someone who has served in local government as well, I understand that concept very well.
Mr. Treasurer, this is Mike Philbeck. I just rejoined, but I will need to abstain on this vote because I heard none of the discussion.
Motion is second being made. Any further discussion? Hearing none. Call the roll.
All right. Spring Lake has 5 budget ordinance amendments, 24-12 through 24-16, plus the resolution to approve amendments to the position classification plan and include certain salaries. Motion, Auditor Holmes, second, Mr. Butler. Secretary Marshall?
Reluctantly, yes.
Mr. Wooten?
Yes.
Sir? Mr. Burns?
Aye.
Thank you. Councilwoman Hoffman?
Aye.
Thank you. Mr. Philbeck abstains, And Treasurer Falwell?
No.
Thank you. So that would be 7 and 1.
I don't think you called my name.
Mr. Hardy.
Oh, so I'm so sorry. Ms. Harvey?
Aye.
I apologize. Put my check mark in the wrong box. Okay, so that, now it's 7 and 1 no. Motion carried.
Thank you. We're now on to Debbie for our resolution certifying our mutual funds and local government investment, which we need to vote on.
Just a quick background.
Yes.
This is the end of sort of a very long process. We started actually several years ago looking at the administrative code related to the LGC's authority to certify mutual funds for local government investment. Those rules were established 30 years ago. A lot of changes since then. Our staff, along with our investment management division staff here at the Department of State Treasurer, has spent a lot of time. Secretary Marshall's office was helpful in helping us with those rules. We got the changes made, the rules were implemented, and we have our first fund before you for certification under the new rules. It is the North Carolina Capital Management Trust, which has come before you, which has been certified in the past. It's the government portfolio fund. We have a resolution before you to approve this fund as a money market mutual fund for under your authority to certify mutual funds for local government investment. Again, this is subject to the new rules, so the fund will need to submit annual attestations that they're continuing to conform with administrative code, with all the requirements, with the statutes. And so we have reviewed their proposal, and staff is recommending approval. And I do want to recognize Jason Sass, who just walked in, who has been instrumental in getting all of this done. He's on our investment team, and we couldn't have done this without him. So we appreciate all his help. So happy to take questions, but otherwise staff is recommending approval of this certification.
Yes, sir.
I'd just like to say, having served in local government and worked with local staff and worked with y'all, that this is the type of work that nobody ever gets praise for, but it's absolutely crucial to work through these type of problems. And having been here since this, I think, is the first major thing that started while I was here and is now ending while I'm here. And I'm just impressed by how hard y'all have worked and the sort of diligence that you've shown to get this done. So kudos, and I look forward to voting for it. And I'll move approval.
Okay. Move approval. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Jay, Michael, Lee, you want to say anything?
Thank you for the effort.
Acknowledge yourself. Introduce yourself for the record.
It's Jay Rivers, and I also want to thank all involved for the effort. A lot of hours put fine.
Motion second on the table, and also second recognize Jason for his work on this. Any further discussion? And just from a public standpoint, this is approving your group to be part of the offering, correct? Okay. And with this approval, you'll be the one of many or one of one at this point?
One at this point.
One of one. Sorry. Let me ask her. Yes.
Cindy Aiken with a partial answer.
Okay.
The trust that is managed by Fidelity is what is being certified as a money market mutual fund. The trustees happen to engage capital management of the Carolinas as part of their team.
The rules have been changed, Mr. Treasurer, I think.
Clear?
Yeah.
Okay.
The rules have been changed to allow funds to submit a proposal for certification. This fund is the only fund that's requested certification.
Yes, that's fine.
so far.
so far, correct?
But I guess over the last 7 years, several people have come to me asking, why don't we open this up? But so far, there's only one who's.
Yes, sir. I have no information from anyone else.
Okay. This is the way it is. All right. Any further discussion? Hearing none, the clerk will call the roll.
All right. Resolution to certify the government portfolio of the North Carolina Capital Management Trust under our new rules and statute 159-30C8. Motion by Mr. Burns, Secretary Marshall, second. Auditor Holmes.
Aye.
Mr. Wooten.
Aye.
Thank you. Mr. Butler. Ms. Harvey.
Aye.
Thank you. Councilwoman Hoffman.
Aye.
Thank you. Mr. Philbeck.
Aye.
Thank you. Treasurer Falwell.
Aye.
Thank you very much. That motion carries.
Okay. Where are we now? Go back to you.
Back to me. A few updates, members, for you. First, quick reminder or introduction to the budget hearings for units under LGC control. As y'all are familiar with or aware from your local government experience, local governments need to hold hearings on their proposed budgets with the units under LGC control. We've typically tried to hold those on an evening in middle of June or so. We'll follow up with an email, but we're proposing June 10th to hold those budget hearings in the evening and sort of stack them up, the different units. Again, we'll follow up with an email and then follow up 2 weeks later during the day with a special meeting, generally very brief, to adopt the budgets. Just again, as a heads up, but wanted to let you know that that email would be coming, and we'll be working with those units under LGC control to schedule those budget hearings and then to schedule our adoption meeting. What we've done in the past, Auditor Holmes, is we'll have staff in the local government, wherever they may be, so that folks from that town can participate, make their comments, and y'all can participate virtually or come here and hear any comments. So we'll get that email out, but just wanted to let you know that that would be coming your way just to check on everybody's availability so we could get those meetings scheduled. Next item to update
For
you.
the record, some of these are on 30-minute intervals.
Right. We try to
45-minute intervals.
we try to make the best use of the members' time since these are evening meetings and it's a little bit it'll be a little bit shorter this year since Pikeville and Robertsonville control was returned. So next update is related to the Session Law 2023-59, which is the requirements for late audits. Under that session law, LGC, we are required to issue a notice to any counties or municipalities that have not submitted an audit within 9 months of fiscal year end. We called that March 31st. So yesterday, we pulled that list of all counties and municipalities that have not yet submitted a fiscal year 23 audit. Next steps from there.
Skip, was that list sent to us?
It was not, Mr. Burns. I know we'll send you the numbers. What I'd like to do, what we're going to do
Okay, I
is
just wanted to
audit
know.
that list essentially and make sure we have the right names on the list. But when we pulled the numbers yesterday, there were a total of 139 counties and municipalities who had not submitted their fiscal year 2023 audit yet. That was 122 municipalities out of 549. And 17 counties out of 100. Again, the 549, there's actually 551 municipalities. Both Eureka and Spencer Mountain have their charters suspended. They're not required to submit an audit, so we're at 549. So those are the numbers we've got. Of those, 103 are just missing the 23 audit. So 103 of the 139 are only missing the 23 audit. We also have 33 who are missing 2 or more audits and 3 who are missing 3 or more audits. So wanted to give you that background just from a numbers perspective to start with. And then
talk a little bit about what's next. So again, looking at the statute, stepping through, again, this is the first time this law has been applied. It was just enacted last June, so this is the first time we're implementing it. So under that law, the first step is that these notices must be sent to units that haven't submitted an audit by April 1st. And that's under the law, supposed to be provided by mail. So Mr. Butler, still not getting in the car quite yet to drive around to get those signatures, but we're going to mail those out to all the units, and we've also worked to accumulate email addresses so we can make sure we email those so we're sure that the units get those. I will note, though, that this is a usual process for us. Our staff has always, around this time, sent letters out to units if their audits hadn't been in by this time. So this is really sort of aligns with a current or an ongoing practice that we have of notifying units that they haven't submitted their audits. So first step is getting those notices out. We'll be doing that shortly, both by mail and by email. The second part of the law requires that, or allows that, when the units receive a notice, they can appeal the potential action of the LGC to withhold a portion of the sales tax distribution. Again, this is the part of the law that's obviously new. If a county or municipality doesn't have their audit submitted by July 1st, the LGC may direct that a portion of that unit sales tax distribution be withheld. So the next step, and again, we're sort of stepping through this as we go since it's new, making sure we do this right and take this a step at a time. So we'll get those notices out shortly. The second step is going to be managing the appeals. It was back in December. The commission adopted some guidelines for successful appeal. So of the units that receive these notices, if they wish to appeal, they can sort of claim as a successful appeal if none of their audits in the last 4 years have come in after July 1st. So of the 103 units that are only late this year, 58 of those have not been late after July 1st in the last 4 years. So they'll just be able to say, we haven't been late the last 4 years, and that appeal is essentially, we'll bring a resolution to you just reinforcing that, but basically saying, yes, you check the boxes as far as meeting the guideline for successful appeal, and that ends the process for them. For the other units, they will need to, if they wish, appeal the notice. Again, nothing can happen until an audit isn't in at July 1st. So again, just yesterday, 4 more audits came in. So we're anticipating a lot of these audits will keep coming in. But a lot of numbers, a lot of details there, but what I was hoping to get from commission members was how you would like to proceed with these appeals. Because even if we put on hold for now, let's say there's 103 who are only a year late, and maybe those are coming in soon, maybe before July 1st, we still have 33 units that are 2 years late and 3 units that are 3 years late. So the chances of them getting all those audits in by July 1st is probably not great. So, and I should note, just because we have so many attorneys in the room and on the commission, the law does state that if a unit appeals, they shall appear before the commission at the next meeting. But again, I don't know that we can handle 139 units at the next meeting. So we're trying to implement the spirit of the law and make sure everyone has their. We have been, and I think Secretary Marshall, you might have asked about this too, but we're trying to communicate this. We have a web page. We're trying to make it clear that there's no automatic withholding. If your audit's not in, it's not an automatic action, that the LGC has to take action. So I think I'm hoping as long as units know that and they know they'll have a chance to make an appeal, the timing, it won't be quite, as far as them appearing, won't be quite as crucial because they know they'll have an opportunity. But at this point, I'm looking to see how you might want to proceed. And a possibility is sort of oldest to newest. For the units that have 2 or 3 years outstanding, if they appeal, would you want to hear their appeals first? Units that are 2 years out, would you want to hear their appeals if they appeal first? And
That makes sense to me, because they would be the most pressing ones, right?
One's most likely to have some revenue.
so that we have 3
If they get
municipalities.
around to appealing.
What, I'm sorry?
If they get around to appealing, they may not even worry about it. Sort of ignore things.
Well, we will make sure they get the notice, for sure. Beyond that, that'll be up to the units to decide whether or not they wish to appeal. And so we can also see if we can break down that 33 that are 2 years or more late, a little bit more beyond that to narrow that amount down. But again, unless commission has other direction for staff, we are just trying to implement this sort of a step at a time best we can with the numbers that are involved, and making sure that the units all have an opportunity to have their appeal heard or considered, obviously before the commission would take action.
So let me just say what's on my mind. I just, knowing some of these entities, because I've been dealing with this for a number of years, I don't want to confuse activity with accomplishment. For these people to come in here and keep saying the same thing they've been saying year after year after year, and checking a box and, you know, we're not going to withhold their sales tax, I don't think that's why the General Assembly passed the law. We'd rather not even be talking about this topic. We'd rather not even have the need for the law. But I don't mind what you just described. I just don't want this to be people coming in here and telling us the same problems. And I'm specifically thinking about Wilkesboro. And I don't know if any staff has any comment on that, but that's what I'm fearing anyway.
I got a couple of questions. Is there an appellate form that we're going to, or an outline?
We are going to, and thank you, actually, I wanted to ask members that as well. So we will actually have an online interface that units can go to and submit their appeal and indicate that they wish to appeal, and just to confirm that they wish to appeal. I'd like to put out guidance for units on what commission members would like to hear in those appeals. We had been working with some units about a year and a half ago. We were bringing the commission late updates on units with late audits with several years, and we would ask for the expected date of submission, the plan for addressing the whatever issues led to the delay in submission, and any other factors that they felt they need either assistance or support on in order to be able to get these audits completed. So,
Debbie, isn't it a percentage of whatever their audit fee is?
yes, sir.
And it's a low percentage, isn't it? What, 10, 15% or something?
It's 150% of their last contract amount.
150%. So if you had a $100,000 audit contract, would their fee be $150,000?
Yes, but it would also be withheld over time. There's a maximum amount that would be withheld monthly. So the law requires us to work with the Department of Revenue to work on the withholding. So it wouldn't necessarily, it depends how the math works out, be all at once.
So small county or town like Bladenboro, whose audit fee is $10,000, it'd be a $15,000 hit.
Right, and just to be clear, it would be withheld until the units submitted their audit or after 2 years. So the funds would eventually revert to the
And
unit.
we're withholding their sales tax, is that right?
Correct. A portion of their sales tax, correct.
Sales tax associated with 150% of some number.
And we'll have those numbers for you. Yes, the last contract amount. We'll have those numbers for you as the units.
So let's take a town like Bladenboro, whose sales tax turns in $200,000 a year, and the audit is $10,000. So we're talking about losing $15,000 out of $200,000. Is that? I mean, just in
The math is correct, but again, they wouldn't necessarily lose it. The money, they would receive the money. The money would be, the funds would be released once they submitted their audit.
And what happens to the money? I mean, who gets the $15,000? Do we get it or the state?
No,
get it?
the distributions are just withheld from distribution by the Department of
But
Revenue.
the state gets to keep the money. The revenue department keeps the money.
They're holding.
They're
Holding it in trust.
And to clarify, after 2 years, it would revert back regardless?
They'd get the money regardless after 2 years.
my understanding. Yes. So, and
Not a big stick.
when the report required under subsection has been filed, reviewed, the secretary must notify. The Department of Revenue must release the funds in the county or municipality's first scheduled distribution of sales tax that is at least 45 days after the earlier of the following. 1, 2 years from the date of notification of the funds to be withheld, or 2, the date the Secretary of Revenue receives notification that the report was essentially filed and reviewed. That's 159-34H1 and 2.
Now, this was, Dale, this was the LGC's initiative to the General Assembly, right?
Jointly with the auditor's office.
And did we start with much larger penalty, or is this what it got tweedled down to?
Cindy had a comment.
Well, Cindy, somebody can correct me if I'm wrong, but the stakeholders, being the municipalities and counties, certainly had their folks involved in
They didn't like any of this at all.
Exactly, correct. Back and forth with the General Assembly to arrive at a final bill that was passable.
Sausage meat.
Yes, but, and as a reminder, Debbie, correct me if I'm wrong, but the withholdings are going to be quarterly, and then it's based on 5% of 1 month of your budget. So that's kind of
The amount to be withheld is 5% of 1/12 of the county or municipality's annual general fund budget as it was adopted.
So it's not with the 15, in your example of a fee, 150%, the 15,000, they're not going to withhold 15,000 all at once, unless it happens to be 5% of 1 month of their budget.
Until the cumulative amount is reached.
Yeah, you keep withholding until you hit that cap.
So it's no big gig.
It's not a big chunk all at once, depending on the size of who the government is. So the math has to be done, and we are, as Debbie said, we coordinate with the Department of Revenue. Treasurer?
If some municipality fails to take an appeal, is it then self-executing that the process takes place?
Yes, it's an interesting language. It's essentially that when they receive an audit of non-compliance, if the county or municipality fails to complete the audit, if they fail to complete the audit, they shall be deemed to have given consent to the withholding of a portion of their sales tax distribution. So essentially, if they don't get their audit in by July 1st, that's their deeming consent for the LGC to withhold a portion of the sales tax. So they have to file that appeal. So if no appeal is followed, then the LGC may decide. But again, ultimately, may have a county or municipality that fails to file may have a portion. It would still be the LGC's decision to do so. Does that
It's not
answer your
really
question?
self-executing. We would
still, right, sorry, yes, thank you.
I've seen worse legislation.
Cindy again, if I may, Treasurer. As an aside, some of
Trying to get over, I've seen worse legislation.
Affecting me, but you can't, totally unintelligible.
As an aside, some of the angst was from memories of a couple governor administrations ago when there was money withheld from local governments, and we kept saying, this is not to take, this is to, let's sort of put it in escrow. We're holding it, do your thing, then we release it, which was not the same as a couple governor, the previous administration that withheld funds from local governments. I'm blanking out on the exact purpose of that, but that may ring a bell or not. But now 20 plus years ago.
Secretary Marshall, to your previous question, is there anything beyond that members would like to hear from these units that have to make an appeal other than the expected date that they'll have the audit, at least their first audit in? Because again, we're talking about units that are 2 to 3 years late, expected date of completion, issues, I'm guessing.
What the hell's going on?
Okay, issues. Can I rephrase that before I put it on our website? Okay.
Birds would like to know what the hell's going on.
Well, how long has this problem existed?
Yeah.
Because we've gotten the same,
That's one way of putting it.
elongate my homework again and again and again.
So if you have a county, you have a city with a $50 million budget, and their audits have cost them $100,000 a year, and we're going to take 150% of something.
Fee.
Huh?
The audit contract fee.
Right. And they can't get their act together. They can't get their books audited. They can't get their stuff reconciled. I just don't know how that's going to change anybody's behavior.
I don't either.
Let's put some contempt power in there and push the pumpkin until they get their paperwork right.
Were you aware of that reversion?
Yeah, but I'm aware of a lot of things. I'm trying to figure out how this ends.
I mean, all a manager's got to do is just underestimate the value, therefore he's going to get taxes on that, or underestimate the collection rate, and you're going to make it up there. It's a no-brainer. Nobody, unless you're really inside the weeds, you never understand how it happens.
No, I certainly agree with exactly what you've said. So considering that the auditor's office and the treasurer's office were the drivers behind this change.
And certain legislators.
And certain legislators that.
You ran into the city and county government lobbyists.
Right.
That just was a wheel of, yeah.
I'm sorry, we interrupted you.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Yeah.
No, that summarizes the point being that this is not a surprise. This is how the law, this is what the General Assembly decided.
Then the elected officials decide they're not going to run again, leave it behind. It's a sin lawyer. They couldn't care less.
I think many of them do care.
Based on 10 years of being a county manager for Republicans and Democrats, I've had a wee bit of experience.
Indeed.
Okay. Yeah, and this bill was stuck in rules, not stuck in rules. They thought it had an agreement, came out of rules, went back into rules. We had quite a journey because of the lobbying effort that was put on it. Like I said, we wish we didn't need the law at all.
Yeah, it needed it all. We've had enough put on us just in my 3 years here, the thing about the charters that now we have to do it, the water money now we have to sign off on it. It just seems like there's just a mission creep to dump more on the LGC to give it more legitimacy of whatever they're undertaking. I mean, this deal of abandoning the charter, do you remember all we went through for East Laurinburg? We were down to trying to sell the boots for the fire department.
It sounds like this law is not having, or will not have the impact intended.
Not even close.
Okay. What do we need us to do?
Any other direction or questions from members?
I do relate it to a different issue once you've concluded.
I have nothing further.
All right, we'll go around.
Cindy, I had a quick question about that before we move on. With the Secretary of Revenue being a member of the LGC, will staff kind of look into whether that there has to be an automatic recusal for the secretary, in as much as I know our role is administrative in the whole holding back of the sales tax. But I wonder if staff has looked into kind of the role that the secretary as a member of the LGC when we get a process in place for this.
Thank you for that question, Mr. Wooten, and that the administrative role rings a bell, but yeah, I will definitely dive into that and report back.
Okay, thanks so much.
Okay. Before we adjourn, we'll go around the horn. Then complete the agenda. Everybody sign up for public comment. Thank you, KJ and Joa. And we'll go virtually to Councilwoman Hoffman, starting with you, or if you have any comments or closing.
Yes. Thank you. Thank you very much, Mr. Treasurer. I'd just like to add to what Secretary Marshall had to tell us about Moldova. You know, the city of Greensboro, and particularly some of our healthcare professionals here, have been very much involved with the nursing program. Dr. Steve Mackler, who's a friend and supporter and lives in my district in Greensboro, has been at the forefront of that. And I've been invited to various events with the nurses over the years, which I've really been very happy to be a part of. And then, in addition, the Greensboro Jewish Federation has had a relationship with the small Jewish community in Moldova for a number of years, and have sent missions there, and also helped them financially with some programming and meeting needs of that community, which happens to be an older population in general. So thank you very much, Secretary Marshall, for your comments about Moldova.
Well, thank you for your ongoing support, and the city of Greensboro has always stepped up to the plate. The Rotary clubs there are the source of a number of grants and/or just local club contributions to sponsor somebody to go to do something. So Greensboro's been heavily involved. Thanks for noting that.
And Councilwoman Hoffman, what's the motto of UNCG? To serve. So.
To serve, correct.
Thank you. Mrs. Harvey?
Nothing really to add. Just want to thank the LGC staff again for your wise counsel on all the issues that came forward to us. Really appreciate all the hard work you put in and the guidance and suggestions that you gave.
Thank you. Mr. Philbeck?
I think you said nothing.
You're on mute.
Sorry about that. I said I don't have anything. Thank you.
Secretary Penny's surrogate?
Nothing from the department. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Thanks for joining us. And Mr.
Thanks,
Burns?
sir.
Go Pack.
Mr. Butler?
Reference the Secretary's comments about Moldova. I'm the retired state transportation officer for the North Carolina National Guard, and there's a huge National Guard presence over there. And let me share with you, if this thing in Ukraine spills over, we're going to have our men and women, because the goal is where these National Guard states are lined up with these small countries, the whole concept is that their officers and our officers know each other to work together on the ground. I mean, that's the basic thing. And I moved a lot of stuff to Moldova. But if this thing in Ukraine spills over,
Moldova's toast.
we're committed over there, the North Carolina National Guard. They're going to get a chance to get the full experience. As we used to say in Vietnam, they'll be able to get the full experience. So it's commendable what you do, and let's hope we keep it in Ukraine.
Secretary Holmes?
I will echo all of the comments about Moldova. I had the opportunity to be a German Marshall Fellow in Europe and spend a month, including some time at NATO, understanding the gravity of Russia's war with Ukraine. And so, first and foremost, I'd like to once again congratulate Secretary Marshall on her Order of the Republic. That came with a very fancy necklace and a very fancy award that we got to see at the Council of State meeting. I also wanted to join Treasurer Falwell in saying thank you for your service to Mr. Andrews.
Thank you very much.
And my last issue is in visiting Rocky Mount, I have learned that there is a fire station number 2, I believe, that is currently closed. And I request that at the next meeting, LGC meeting, that we receive an update as to the status of Fire Station 2 in Rocky Mount and what is happening with that.
That'll happen before the next meeting. Secretary Marshall.
Well, thank you all for your fine comments about Moldova and her future. And the National Guard has been a reliable partner, and I think I'm sworn to secrecy, but something is going to happen honoring the North Carolina National Guard for its work there sometime soon. That's all I can say.
Let's just hope we're getting honors, not shipping munition.
This is a recognition thing.
Yeah.
Thank you all for joining us and for all your efforts, and I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second, Jessica Holmes.
Motion second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, the clerk will call the roll.
Secretary Marshall?
Aye.
Mr. Wu?
Aye.
Mr. Burns?
Aye.
Ms. Harvey?
Aye.
Councilwoman Hoffman?
Aye.
Mr. Philbeck?
Aye.
Treasurer Falwell?
Aye. We're adjourned. Thank you all.
Dee Dee, we used to say it.
You're welcome.
Go, go.